Awareness. The road to success with anything first begins with awareness. Hello, everyone. Troy Thompson here, the Angel of Freedom. And today's topic is about awareness. And so I had an event happen to me a few days ago that put this topic on my mind. I was driving to the gym, and I typically take a route through the neighborhoods. When I drive through the neighborhoods, I only have to deal with two stop signs instead of the main two roads I would take to get there. I have to deal with four traffic lights. So I'm driving along through the neighborhoods and I'm listening to a podcast. And I look up in my rear view mirror and I see lights flashing. So there's a police car behind me. I looked down at my speed. I had just gone down this little hill and I was going about 40 miles an hour. And the speed limit in this area is 25. So I pull over and stop and had the typical exchange with the officer. And thankfully, he didn't give me a ticket because he very easily could have. But what was my problem? Well, my problem was a total lack of awareness. I didn't even see him. I was oblivious to how fast I was going. I think I was probably going around 35, and then I had just happened to go down this little hill that made me go any faster, even faster. And so I was just totally unaware of what was going on. I was listening to a podcast, I was daydreaming, wasn't paying attention to my speed. And so many people are in that same position with their money. They have a total lack of awareness about their money. And so success with anything, especially financial things, first starts with an awareness. And so that awareness begins with looking at income and expenses, all right, those straightforward, boring things that many of us don't want to do, especially looking at the expenses. At a minimum, once a month, I recommend that an individual counts up what their total expenses were for that month. If I was to ask you right now, what are your monthly expenses? What are your average monthly expenses for the last year? Would you know the answer to that question? People who do well financially and people who end up succeeding financially, they know that number. They know what they typically spend per month. And I call it stepping on the scale. So people who regularly step on the scale once a day to once a week generally maintain a healthier weight than those who rarely weigh themselves. And it's kind of the compounding in a negative way. People will tend to put on 2 or 3 pounds a year. And so then over a course of 5 or 10 years, then eventually I get to where I'm 20 pounds overweight. And then I look at myself and say, how did that happen? It's because it's these small incremental changes that happen over time that I don't notice. And then a few years down the road, I'm 20, 30 pounds overweight. So the equivalent of stepping on the scale financially is looking at my expenses, at least monthly. Now, in the beginning, if I haven't been doing this at all, then it's probably at least weekly. At least weekly, I'm taking a look at my expenses. And most people within their expenses are totally unaware of how much money they spend on entertainment and eating out. And when I say eating out, I'm including any purchase like at a convenience store. I buy gas and then I buy a candy bar, an energy drink, or I go and I buy a coffee or an energy drink at the coffee stand. So I'm talking about every eating out, any time where I'm getting food outside the home that's not groceries that I'm going to buy to eat at home. I found that most people grossly underestimate and have far lower opinion of what they think they're spending when it comes to their entertainment and their eating out. So the beginning is awareness, stepping on the scale and not only looking at what the monthly expenses are, but taking a look at where the money is going and putting it into categories. Now, today is very easy. It can be done through the bank statements and making that into a CSV document, plugging that into an Excel program, or there are various online companies that will link with your bank account. For years, I just did it by pen and paper. I never had any luck getting my accounts to sync, so I just had a piece of paper on the refrigerator. I wrote down what my income was, and then I wrote down those recurring expenses that I knew that were going to happen each month, the mortgage, the insurance, and as the month went by, I just kept track of it. And I use that method for months, and it was really practical and effective for me because it was right there on the refrigerator. So then I saw it, and it was on my mind. So one limitation of doing things electronically is committing to sitting down and logging into my bank account. That's one reason that I continue to get a paper credit card statement, because then I look at it. I open it up and I do a quick review. I've found fraudulent charges on there over the years, and or charges that were recurrent and I didn't realize they were recurring. And so that all of it ties into awareness, having an awareness of my finances, especially my expenses. Now, in general, I'm an advocate of increasing my means, so increasing my income, so then I can have less cares. You know, if I want to go out to eat, I can. If I want to buy a coffee, an energy drink, whatever, I can. It's not a big impact on my life. But at a minimum, in the beginning, it starts with awareness. What are my expenses? How much money am I spending in each category? And comparing that to my income. And then eventually, after I have a feel for that, I may choose to decrease some of my expenses until I'm able to increase my means and increase my revenue. So that's today's topic. Today, awareness. It all starts with awareness.